morning after his first time go-go dancing for Alex, the sound of a running faucet and teeth being brushed with an electric toothbrush floated through an open doorway to what was obviously the bathroom in someone else's apartment, and Chase woke up. He was comfortably lying there under the warm, soft, new fabric in a wide, dark, wood-framed bed he didn't recognize, so he didn't move. Looking out the window, the view of the Joyce Theatre made it clear he was in Chelsea, so he knew he wasn't far from his one-bedroom apartment in the West Village. If he didn't feel like walking home, he could take a cab. There was really no way the inconvenience of unnecessary exertion would stand in the way of anything he might have felt like doing that day. Consumed by an instinct to analyze the room, however, he completely forgot about trying to recall what he was doing in that apartment, and the fact that he had no clue who he had come home with, how he'd arrived there, and what had happened once he had, and began to scrutinize the stark, unchallenging, grey-brown colour scheme and bleak, obvious minimalism of the room. The furniture had clearly been selected by someone with no interest in genuine personal expression, because it looked exactly like any room he might have expected to see in anyone else's apartment, anywhere else in the city, or for that matter, anywhere else in the country, although the shelves and lamps were slightly more vertical and elongated to accommodate for the space restrictions of New York. Even the photographs on the wall, crystal clear prints of local graffiti, street signs from the Bronx, and a male torso by Tom Bianchi, all black and white in this context, somehow managed to lose any visual strength they might have had as images, and resonated nothing more than clinical edginess and outsourced personality. Chase reassured himself that he was going to turn this city on its head when he finally got to the top of the interior decorating industry. The sound of a toilet flushing was followed by footsteps that grew louder, and when he heard them, Chase clicked back into the world and fell into the familiar routine. He performatively stretched while remaining in bed so that the pristine, lentil-covered duvet slid to just below his waistline, his arms up under the pillow, the top of his neatly trimmed pubic hair just slightly visible. He rolled playfully onto his stomach and lifted his knee so that his thigh lay at a 90-degree angle to the rest of his body, and the top of his butt cheeks peeked out from under the hem of the duvet, making their suggestive vulnerability a focal point, and he half feigned sleep. He was still hungover at that point, and the prospect of more sleep was undeniably attractive. When the man entered the room, Chase kept his eyes closed and felt, as he knew he would, thick hands on his skin as they slid up his torso, and the weight of the man's frame pressed down upon him. Warm, newly minted breath from the man's mouth wound its way into Chase's nostrils and almost caused him to sneeze. And as he felt the enjoyable pressure of his body being stretched and devoured, he simply lay back and allowed the rough tingling to continue until it ran its course. What else was he going to do in that instance anyway? Interrupt everything so he could leave? Besides, his muscles were relaxed and he felt comfortable and protected. For a moment he wondered who the man was, but any lack of understanding about where he was and what he was doing was really just evidence that he was now embroiled in New York City, and things were bigger than him, and he was on his way. He resigned himself to the fact that it would be impossible at that point for anyone, let alone him, to really know every detail of what had happened last night and what was happening now. This was New York, and he was in it. Now, dancing on a plinth beneath a red spotlight, Chase was swaying drunkenly back and forth, a plastic cup in his hand, his underwear around the ankle of his right foot, and his erection bouncing and waving around like it was a loosely attached appendage. He wasn't so drunk that he had no idea where he was, and there were several older men standing in front of him, holding drinks and reaching out hands every now and then to touch him, to see how he would react if they slipped cash into his socks, or if he would even register fingers on his skin. Chase seemed totally unaware of the men at his feet, who thrust money at him except when they touched him. He felt like he was encapsulated in a bubble that blocked everything out because up on the plinth he simply existed without complication. Every now and then he would appear to grab hold of his consciousness and attempt to break through the incoherent to regain control. It was obvious when he had come to that point again because he would stand up straight and with his legs slightly apart, and he'd look straight ahead and stare into nothing, his fists clenched at his side. It was like being a statue a stunning plastic statue. That was the image he had of himself, standing there on display at a party in New York City. The need to maintain any kind of control inevitably seemed to slide away, and as the world faded out again, Chase imagined he was a flawless mannequin standing in the front window of a sparkling department store. He was fascinated by what he knew was his powerful face and even skin color, and the way his poses were in direct complement to the way the room flowed. He imagined someone coming over to move his arms for him. In his mind, they would move his arms and his legs, and then they would open their mouths and swallow him whole, and he would be carried away down into the safe, warm darkness.